Welcome to our first look at the opening lines for Week 15 of NFL action here on FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV and available on the Game Plus network. We have a full slate of 16 games, and with college football winding up, there are going to be some NFL games on Saturday here. But let's start with the Thursday night game this week, which is a really good one between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs are 9-4 on the year, 6-7 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, and coming off a big beatdown of the Las Vegas Raiders, 48-9. The Los Angeles Chargers are 8-5, 7-6 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, and coming off a win against the New York Giants, 37-21 on Sunday. When I run numbers on this game, I get the Kansas City Chiefs should be favored by about 5.5, which means that I'm going to be bullish on the Chiefs here, especially at that -3.5 plus 100 number over on DraftKings. We have about 2 points of value here. Now, I would honestly prefer if this number was like -3 at, -120 maybe. But at this point in time, I'd still rather take the 3.5 with us having about 2 points of value here. The Chargers have a couple things that are up in the air right now. They had a couple guys with COVID last week. They should be back this week, but they did have a problem with Austin Eckler in that game. Eckler with an ankle injury, I think, is what put him out. Didn't wind up finishing that game. So they're going to be a little bit less than 100% going in. And the Chiefs right now look to have, basically figured everything out and righted the ship here. The offense is obviously humming at the moment, and the defense is playing really well for them, which is something that wasn't happening at the beginning of the year. So I do like the Kansas City Chiefs here. First bullish bet of the day for Thursday night. And like I was saying, with college football now basically being over until the bowl games come around, we do have some NFL action on Saturday coming forward here. And the first one we're going to talk about this Saturday is the Las Vegas Raiders against the Cleveland Browns. The Raiders are 6-7 on the year, 5-8 against the spread, 7-6 to the over, and coming off of that loss to Kansas City, 48-9 that we just spoke about. Cleveland is 7-6 on the year, 5-8 against the spread, 7-6 to the over, and coming off a big win against the Baltimore Ravens, 24-22 in a game where their defense took over late and Lamar Jackson didn't end up finishing the game. So when I run a number on this game, I get the Cleveland Browns should be favored by 5. So I'm slightly bearish on the Cleveland Browns here at 6.5. Even with it juiced down a little bit, it's plus 100 on DraftKings, minus 105 on BetMGM. So reduced juice from the standard 110 here. It looks like the market's going to move a little bit closer to my number here, which is why right now I don't want to lay the -6.5. I think we're going to get this at a better number later on in the week. And like I said, my number is only -5 here. So I don't want to go chasing this at the moment. It's not like the Cleveland Browns are an amazing offense here at the moment. They got a bunch of their tight ends hurt. Odell Beckham's gone. The wide receiver core is not all that great. Kareem Hunt is not looking like his old self since coming back from injury. So, this is not an offense that I'm expecting to put up a massive amount of points here. Now, can they beat the Raiders? Yes, the Raiders didn't look good this weekend either. I just think it's a few too many points. So I am bearish on the Cleveland Browns at this number. The other Saturday game here is the New England Patriots taking on the Indianapolis Colts. This is a big one for playoff seeding right now, as both of these teams are in at the moment, but need to keep winning with a bunch of teams in the AFC bunched up at that 7-6 and 6-7 range. New England is actually 9-4 on the year, 9-4 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, and they're coming off a bye last week. The Indianapolis Colts are 7-6, 8-5 against the spread, 8-5 to the over, and also coming off a bye last week. This is a really close game. When I run my number on it, though, I actually get that New England should be favored here by about 0.5 point. So it's basically a coin flip in this game. But I'm bullish on New England because we can get the New England Patriots on the money line at plus 105 on BetMGM right now. It's +2 and +1 is the spread. I don't really want to mess with that spread since we're not getting the full field goal here. If you're going to bet the Patriots, which is what I like to do here because I think that they should be slightly favored, and right now I can get them at plus money at plus 105. I think that's good value. So I am bullish on the New England Patriots here in this game against the Colts. Now that we have the Thursday and Saturday games out of the way, it's time for us to move on and look at the main slate of the games that's going to be happening on Sunday. We have a lot of games on Sunday here, a lot of games at 1 o'clock, a couple games at 4 o'clock, and then the Sunday and Monday night football game to talk about. So let's talk about the first game here that I want to talk about on Sunday, which is the Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Giants. Dallas is 9-4 on the year, 10-3 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, and coming off a win against the Washington football team, 27-20. The Giants are 4-9 on the year, 6-7 against the spread, 4-8-1 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Los Angeles Chargers, 37-21. I don't think this number should be as big. My number on this game is only the Dallas Cowboys favored by 7, maybe 8.5. If it winds up being Fromm instead of Mike Glennon at quarterback for the Giants. But really, I kind of had them both not too far off from each other and well below what it would be if Daniel Jones was the quarterback here, which is not going to be the case this weekend. 11.5 just seems like a few too many points here for me. So I am actually bearish on the Dallas Cowboys in this game. I think the Giants I would rather actually take the plus 10.5 at minus 110. No, actually, I take that back. I'd probably take the 11.5 and lay the minus 125 here. It is juiced up a little more than I'd like to see, but that's a slightly better price when you factor in the payout than the plus 10.5 at minus 110 there. So I do like the Giants in this one. Like I said, I think it's just a few too many points here for them, for the Cowboys to be favored by. So I'll take the Giants plus 11.5 over on DraftKings. Next game we can talk about, a battle of 2-11 teams. The Houston Texans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Houston is 2-11, 5-8 against the spread, 5-8 to the over, and coming off a 33-13 loss to the Seattle Seahawks. Jacksonville also 2-11 on the year, 4-9 against the spread, 2-11 to the over. 2-11 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Tennessee Titans, 20-0 as they were shut out in that game. Not a lot to talk about here. My number on this game is -3, right on market with DraftKings. BetMGM has the juice down a little bit there. I don't think it gets below that 3. 3 is the number that it should be here for the Jaguars. Jaguars, slightly better team than the Texans when you factor in home field advantage. That's how we get here. I'm on market, not much to talk about. The next game we can talk about, though, the Tennessee Titans taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tennessee is 9-4 on the year, 8-5 against the spread, 7-6 to the over, and coming off that 20-0 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pittsburgh is 6-6-1, 5-8 against the spread, 5-7-1 to the over, and coming off a loss to a Minnesota Vikings, 36-28. My number on this game is -2, so I'm right on market with BetMGM, a little bit below what DraftKings has here. But again, not a lot to talk about here. I'm pretty much on market. My number is pretty much what the books are offering as well. Really no value in this game for us to look at. The next game, my New York Jets taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Jets are 3-10 on the year, 3-10 against the spread, 7-6 to the over, and coming off a beatdown to the New Orleans Saints, 30-9 in a game that I was in attendance at. Miami is 6-7 on the year, 5-1 against the spread, 5-8 to the over, and they had a bye last week, so we have to factor that in a little bit to the price here. When I do factor all that in, along with the home field advantage, I get exactly what the books have here as well. I get the Dolphins should be favored by 8.5. 7 would be too few, and I think everybody would be on the Miami side. 10 would probably be too much and would push me onto the Jet side. 8.5 is the number that I got when I ran my power rankings. 8.5 is the number the books are offering right here. Again, not a lot of value to talk about in this one. The next game up, another NFC East battle between the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. Washington is 6-7 on the year, 5-8 against the spread, 5-8 to the over, coming off a loss to the Dallas Cowboys, 27-20 last weekend. Philly is 6-7 on the year, 7-6 against the spread, 7-6 to the over, and coming off a bye last week themselves. So with Philly coming off the bye, you got to factor that in a little bit, but I still think this is too many points right here. I get Philly should be favored by -2. Now, there is a caveat to here as well. You know, Taylor Heineke is a guy who got beat up in that last game, and we're not sure if he's going to play this week. If Taylor Heineke's in, I get Philly should be favored by -2. If Taylor Heineke's out, though, you're probably looking at an adjustment of about 2.5 points, which would put me right on market with what everybody else has here at the -4, -4.5, somewhere in that range. So I can't make a bet on this until we know about Taylor Heineke. If Taylor Heineke's playing, I think the Eagles are probably favored by too much. If Taylor Heineke's not playing, I'm pretty much right on market here. It does look like Taylor, from what I've read, Adam Schefter put out something yesterday that said Taylor Heineke is still looking like he's going to be able to play in week 15. Now, again, this is Monday. The games just happened yesterday. We're going to need to see how he practices throughout the week, so keep an eye on that. But if he is in, there probably is a little bit of value on that Washington +4, but we're not going to do anything with it until we have that news, and we're not going to get that news till later in the week. So for now, we're just going to keep an eye on this one. And that brings us to the next game, which is the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Detroit Lions. Arizona is 10-2 on the season, 9-3 against the spread, 6-6 to the over. And coming off actually, they haven't played this week. They have the Monday Night Football game against the Los Angeles Rams, and we do this on Monday morning. So that's why they have one less game played than everybody else here in the rankings that we're talking about. The Detroit Lions are 1-11 on the season, but they are 8-5 against the spread. They have been able to keep games close. They're 5-8 to the over, and they're coming off a loss to the Denver Broncos, 38-10, in a game that they were not able to keep close. I mean, my number on this game is the Arizona Cardinals -14. So I'm pretty much right on market. BetMGM a little bit below my number, but again, when we're talking half a point at 14, you know, it's a very small rate of change there. So it's basically on market on both of these sites. I don't know. I mean, I know it's a big number here, and people look at 14 and they're like, oh man, that's too many points. But I got to be honest, they just lost by 28 to the Denver Broncos. So it's not like the Detroit Lions can't lose by big numbers. DeAndre Swift is out. You know, they didn't have Jamal Williams last week because of COVID. We'll have to see how that works out. The wide receiver core hasn't been anything great all season. I don't really think we want to chase anything here. I don't think we want to go in either direction here. This is a game that I'm just kind of passing on. Again, 14 is a lot of points, but I don't think it's a crazy amount of points given this matchup. And this brings us to the last of the 1 p.m. games here on Sunday. The Carolina Panthers taking on the Buffalo Bills. Carolina 5-8 on the year, 5-8 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, and coming off a bad loss to the Atlanta Falcons, 29-21. Buffalo is 7-6 on the year, 6-1 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, and they're coming off a loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They played very well in that game. Actually, they played really bad early on. They stormed back to bring it into overtime, and then Tampa just does what Tampa did. Tom Brady led a scoring drive. You know, they threw the pass. Ricciardi Perryman did the rest. Wound up getting a big, long touchdown there to ice that game. 33-27, Tampa Bay won that one. So my number on this game is Buffalo -10. It's probably a few too many points over on DraftKings right now. As you can see, BetMGM has it at 10.5, which is kind of in line with what I would think it would be. I got to be honest, though, I have zero desire to take Panthers +12 right now, even though I do think there's about 2 points of value there. I do not want to be on the Carolina side of this game. I think Buffalo, you know, realizes that their backs are against the wall right now. They're basically hanging on to a playoff spot by a thread. They need to go out there and win some football games. This is a very winnable football game for them. It's at home. There's really no reason they should lose this football game, and they should honestly blow out Carolina. If I'm in an office pool, I would rather be on the Buffalo side, even though I do think, based on my numbers, there's a little bit of value on the Panthers side. I just have no faith in the Panthers that I want to be there. And there you go. That wraps it up for the 1 p.m. games. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and then we'll be right back with the 4 p.m. games, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night game on the first look at the opening lines video with Betting with Benny here at FTN Bets. Welcome back to our first look at the opening lines here on FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV, available on the Game Plus network. We have 4 p.m. NFL football games for Week 15, and we're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Denver Broncos. Cincinnati is 7-6 on the year, 6-7 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, coming off a loss to the San Francisco 49ers, 26-23 in a close, well-contested game. Denver is 7-6 on the year, 7-6 against the spread, just 3-10 to the over, and coming off a big win over the Detroit Lions, 38-10 on Sunday. So when I run numbers on this game, I think this should be a pick 'em. I think it should be even. So if I think this game should be even, I actually do think there's a little bit of value on the Cincinnati Bengals side here. The Bengals at even money is right where it should be on BetMGM. So at DraftKings at +105, that's the place that I want to be on the Bengals here. I think if you're going to make a bet on this game at all, I would avoid messing with the -1.5, +1.5 spread. I would just take the Bengals straight up on the money line at +105. That's where I think the edge is. Is it a big edge? No. Like I said, I think this game is a complete 50-50 coin flip. But anytime you have something that's 50-50 and you're getting paid 105 on it, there is a little bit of value there. So I guess I'm bullish on the Cincinnati Bengals, but it is very slightly bullish on the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't want to go too far overboard here. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Atlanta is 6-7 on the year, 6-7 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, coming off that win against the Carolina Panthers 29-21 on Sunday. San Francisco is 7-6 on the year, 6-7 against the spread, 7-6 to the over, and coming off a win against a good Cincinnati Bengals team, 26-23. My number on this game is -8. So I am pretty much right on market here. DraftKings has -8 juiced up a little bit at -115. BetMGM has it at -7.5, but also juiced up a little bit at -115, meaning it's more likely to move to 8. DraftKings actually says it's more likely to move to 8.5 with that juiced up -8 there. But again, with our number being -8, we're pretty much right on market. Not a lot of value here, not much to talk about. The next game up is the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. Seattle is 5-8 on the year, 7-6 against the spread, 3-9-1 to the over, and coming off a win against a bad Houston Texans team, 33-13. The Rams are 8-4 on the year, 5-7 against the spread, 6-5-1 to the over, and they have that big matchup on Monday Night Football against the Arizona Cardinals. Again, we're doing this show on Monday morning, so there really is nothing to talk about here. They're one game behind everybody else. We'll see how that game plays out on Monday night. Hopefully everybody gets through that game healthy. Otherwise, it might change a little bit of this analysis here. Really, though, I have the Rams on the look-ahead line being -6. So we're not far off. Maybe I'm slightly bearish. I'm -7 or -6.5, -115, which looks like it's more likely to go to -7 there on BetMGM. But again, being at -6 here, there really isn't a lot of value. It's kind of a key number that we don't really want to cross. I don't want to take Seattle +7 right now. I'm just going to be passing on this one. And that brings us to the last game in the 4 o'clock window, which is the Green Bay Packers against the Baltimore Ravens. As you can see, there is no spread, no money line, nothing up yet on either DraftKings or BetMGM. And the reason for that is that Lamar Jackson got hurt towards the end of that Ravens game and didn't wind up finishing that Ravens game. So if Lamar Jackson's going to be out, that's going to be a big change to everything that comes up. So let me just kind of throw out the numbers here to give you guys an idea of what I'm looking at. On the road, I would still have the Packers with Lamar Jackson playing, probably favored by about a field goal, maybe 2.5 points. If Lamar Jackson doesn't play, though, I would have the Packers favored in this game by like 8.5 or 9 points. Lamar Jackson is worth probably slightly less than a touchdown to the Baltimore Ravens here. So that's a big deal and obviously a big piece of news that we're going to have to follow. As you can see here, the books don't even want to take a chance on it until they know what's happening. Like I said, I just kind of want to give you guys where my numbers would fall with or without Jackson. And then you guys can make whatever, decisions you have to make as that information comes out later on in the week. Remember, you can get over to FTN Bets right now. Sign up for a monthly package, $49.99. Use promo code Benny, save 20% off. And as this news comes out, we'll have more analysis and, kind of give you guys a better way of here's how you should attack this game once we have a little bit more information. But for now, Packers -9 without Lamar, Packers minus about 3 if Lamar does wind up playing. And there you go. That wraps it up for the 4 o'clock games. We're going to take another quick commercial break and come back and talk about the Sunday night and Monday night football games here on our first look at the opening lines for Week 15 at FTN Bets. Welcome back, everybody. We have 2 games left to talk about here today. The first one is going to be the Sunday night football game between the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Saints are 6-7 on the year, 6-7 against the spread, 6-7 to the over, and coming off a beating of the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium, 30-9 on Sunday. Tampa Bay is 10-3 on the year, 7-6 to the 7-6 against the spread, 7-6 to the over, and coming off an overtime win against the Buffalo Bills, 33-27, in a game they were up big early, let slip late, and then came back in overtime to finish it off. So I am actually a little bit bearish on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 11.5 here. The number that I have is only -8.5 for this game. So that's about 3 points of value. And I wanted to explain why. We saw this happen last year when Taysom Hill was the quarterback for the Saints. The Saints play at a much slower rate when Taysom Hill is their quarterback. And that means that the games tend to be a little bit lower scoring. It's not that I don't think the Buccaneers are going to beat the Saints and probably beat them pretty easily in this game. It's just that I think 11.5 is too many points because I have this game projected to go under as well. So if the Bucs come out and just blow the Saints off the field, I wouldn't be surprised. But laying 11.5 with the Bucs is not something I want to do. So I am bearish on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. I would actually be looking to take the Saints at plus 11.5. I think that number is going to come down below 10 before the end of the week, but it's probably still going to stay up there in the 9 or 10 range. Like I said, the Bucs are a deserving big favorite in this game, especially with all the things the Saints have going on, with all the injuries that they have on their team right now. Tampa Bay should win this game. They should win it easy. I just think 11.5 is too many points, so I'm a little bearish on Tampa Bay. And that brings us to our last game on the day, our last game on the week, the Monday Night Football game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. Minnesota is 6-7 on the year, 7-6 against the spread, 8-5 to the over, and coming off a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night, 36-28. Now, we do have to factor in a little bit of extra rest for them because, again, they played on Thursday. They got a couple extra days off, probably worth about 1 or 2 points to the spread. The Chicago Bears are 4-9 on the year, 5-8 to the over, 5-8 against the spread, and coming off a loss to the Green Bay Packers, 45-30 on Sunday. So I agree that the Vikings should be favored. I just think they're favored by a little bit too much here. I think the Vikings are about a field goal better than the Chicago Bears. So with the Bears being at home, I'm looking at this as more of a Vikings favored by -2 instead of -4 or -4.5 here. So like I said, I am kind of bearish on the Minnesota Vikings. I would be looking to go over to BetMGM and take the Bears at +4.5. I don't think the Bears have what it takes to beat the Vikings, but I also don't think the Vikings have what it takes right now to beat the Bears by like 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I think it's going to rely on the run game of both teams. I think the Vikings passing attack is better than the Bears passing attack and will probably be the difference in the game. I just think this is a few too many points. So I am bearish on the Minnesota Vikings here at -4.5. And there you go, guys. That wraps it up for the first look at the opening lines for Week 15 here at FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV and available on the Game Plus Network. Remember, you can get over to FTN Bets right now. $49.99 monthly package. Promo code Benny saves you 20%. Makes a great Christmas present to give to somebody else or even just to give to yourself so that you can be a better player. We have NBA, we have NHL, we have NFL, we have MMA, we have tennis. Any sport that you're looking to bet on, we have some models, we have some information, and we have some experts with making their picks every week to help you guys win some money. So for Benny and FTN Bets, signing off for Week 15, good luck, everybody.